Nicole M. Wolverton is a Pushcart-nominated writer of horror, speculative fiction, and creative nonfiction. Her short works appear in dozens of publications, and her debut young adult novel, A Misfortune of Lake Monsters, will be out in summer 2024 from Camcat Books. She lives in the Philadelphia area. Over to you, Nicole.
Thank you, Elaine. And thanks to all of you. It's an honor to have a spot today among all these writers. They're great. So, to get started, what winds blow in the valley below the big town on the first day of June? Always smell of oranges. Sharp, sweet, and with it, every year, came an undeniable hunger. Letty Hanrahan always stood for a moment, waiting until she could wait no more, to throw open the kitchen shutters to let in the summer citrus rush and the unflinching desire to eat. "You don't even like them oranges," her husband would say, and she'd nod, smiling. You can't argue with the truth. Yet out Letty would go, no matter the weather, to seek the source of that scent. This year was no different. The fruit-drenched air invaded the house, soaked into her skin. Time was of the essence. It always was. A few steps away, Elmer, her husband, sprawled beneath the comforter in their pin-neat bedroom. Letty fished for her shoes just under the white eyelet bedskirt and slipped them on, quiet as can be. Elmer flung out a hand to pet the round hardness of her belly, and the baby kicked. Once, twice, and then the rumbling settled. Elmer mumbled, "Don't even like them oranges." "When you're right, dear." Letty's hunger was louder than the wind. The aroma was everywhere. Maybe it was more intense this year. Her mother, God rest her soul, had explained about pregnancy, the way she'd sniffed out the strangest things all the time. And the year that Letty had been born, the oranges had been strangling in their depth of scent. Getting outside, that's what was needed. Letty would clear her head, let the wind take her where it might. She slipped a knife into her pocket. A lady never knew when she might need a good knife on the first day of June. Outside the house on the flagstone walk, she sniffed, deep and wide. The gusty wind made her more ravenous. The sun heated the crown of her head, magnifying the heavy aroma. Another gale led Letty to the road, and some intuition turned her to the west, to the oak-heavy forest. She walked, following her nose, the nudges from within her belly. She would eat. She and the baby. They'd both eat. The year prior, Letty had come upon a juicy morsel in the dappled shade beneath a tree in the main square. The year before that, she'd found herself behind a dilapidated building on the outskirts of the city, snuffling sun-warmed skin. And oh, the taste. Hot and wet. Sweet and succulent. The wind changed direction, bringing a yawning whiff of orange from the north. She swiveled, set to sprint across the meadowed expanse. The forest just beyond shook its leaves, and the breeze altered course again. Seconds later, the scent of citrus shifted south. Such strangeness to the hunt this year. Perhaps it was the strong winds at fault. Or perhaps the baby made it harder to pinpoint the source. She sat in a patch of clover and held her belly between two unsure hands. "This way," the wind whispered. "Come this way." Letty rose and let the voice take her. She followed, a hollow space growing inside her chest, even as the spice of orange filled the air. It filled her with anticipation. Her incisors ached with the need to tear into flesh, swallow the juice. See the family ritual clear for another year. The ritual demanded sacrifice. Her mother told her once what would happen if she ignored her calling. How the town would suffer. How she would suffer. Letty wouldn't even think of shirking her duty. When through a thick brush Letty tunneled, it was her own backyard in which she stood. Inside, the voice called. It perhaps was not the wind, as she'd thought, but her own self speaking around a thing she didn't want to admit. Her feet walked the path by memory, so intent was she on following the perfume. Now she caught the smell, the thick of it in her throat. How she'd mistaken it, Letty couldn't tell. She stumbled once at the back door, fumbled with the key. Deep down, she knew service and sacrifice would twine together this year, and it filled her with dread. Something drew her up the stairs, down the hall, and through the doorway into her bedroom. Her husband still slept, face down on the pillow. She crept closer, then closer still, held back only by the bloom of oranges permeating the room. The wind had brought her the scent of fruit, taken her to the source. She would eat. She and the baby. They'd both eat. Elmer stirred, his skin suggestive of an entire grove of oranges. She leaned closer, ran her nose along the bare aromatic spine, the firm and fragrant shoulders. Her mouth filled and her jaw went slack, fingers crooking with the urge to feast. The baby kicked. Letty slipped the knife from her pocket, so hungry and orange mad that she didn't even bother to wake him to say goodbye. Elmer would understand. The baby would understand. The ritual must be fulfilled, the sacrifice made. She didn't even like them oranges. So, thanks again for letting me share Letty with you today. And with luck, I'll be back in a year for a sneak peek reading of my YA horror novel, A Misfortune of Lake Monsters. In the meantime, if you want updates on that book, as well as other fun tidbits, I invite you to sign up for my monthly newsletter on my website, which is NicoleWolverton.com. And I'll be giving away 2 books to one lucky winner today, a copy of my adult thriller and a copy of the In Trouble anthology that contains one of my short stories, not this one. Thanks again.